Hi, my name is Brent Coy. I'm a missionary with Mission to the World. I've been serving with Mission to the World since 2010 in Tokyo and Osaka, Japan. Um, and I'm actually right now transitioning back. Well, I've been back in the States for a year and a half and transitioning to be a missionary in Sydney, Australia. But because of COVID-19, I'm stranded in the States waiting for the world to change. So I thought I would share with you a little bit about my journey as a missionary, and so I'm going to be looking at some questions that were sent to me to answer for you all. So one of them was, what was I like in high school? Did I ever consider missions? In high school, I knew pretty much exactly what I thought I was going to do for my career. I was going to be a teacher, teach history um, at a Christian school. Pretty much that was my entire career plan. Um, what was I like in high school? I was really quiet. Honestly, I was really judgmental of people that didn't behave perfectly and act like perfect Christians. Um, and even though my own heart was really not where it should be either, but I judge people by their actions, and so I really wish I could go back and change that sometimes. But no, I never thought about being a missionary, because to me, being a missionary meant you were a pastor, and I just didn't feel like I was cut out for being a pastor. Um, why should students consider missions? Well, missions is really a wide field. No matter what you want to do, pretty much any sort of job you want to do, you could do it overseas and be someone who is intentional about building relationships with people in order to share the gospel, in order to support a local church and such. And so you could be a missionary, you could be a medical missionary, you could do accounting, you can do blue collar work, building pretty much anything, arts, all sorts of different things. And so, yes, I would encourage everybody to think about, how could I do what I want to do in the mission field? You couldn't necessarily do all of those jobs in any given country. For example, you couldn't be a doctor in Japan unless you'd actually gone to medical school in Japan and were 100% fluent in Japanese. But there are places you could be a doctor. And so look into those sorts of options. Uh, how did I get to the mission field? How did I know my calling? I am a member of a church in Jackson, Mississippi that is multi-ethnic, and meaning that it's in a predominantly black neighborhood, and so our church is multiracial. And I was in the church choir, which means that we sing a lot of black gospel songs. And so in 2007, one of our members had a sister and brother-in-law that were missionaries in Japan, and she said, "Hey, we should go to Japan with our choir because they really love black gospel in Japan," which was really weird. Like, wow, that's, you never would guess that. Um, and so I went on a 2 week mission trip. I'd never been outside of North America at all. Um, and so I thought, hey, that's a cool way to spend 2 weeks vacation. So I went to Japan, and that was all it was. And when I got back to Mississippi, God started calling me. And I thought, first I thought that was crazy. No, there's no way that I'm going to be a missionary in Japan. But God was persistent. And so after about a year, actually only half a year, I applied to MTW, and God just confirmed through a lot of different people and means that He wanted me in Japan. And so I went. I didn't know why He wanted me there. I primarily went and taught English, um, and I liked it, but I didn't. It wasn't what I loved. I was working mostly with older women that were just learning English as a hobby, and I'd been working with college students for many years, and so I loved working with particularly young men, mentoring young men, and like, God, why do you have me here working with mostly older women? But then God called me to join a new team in Osaka that was starting a brand new college, and so I was going back to kind of the work that I loved. And so I joined that team, but for various reasons, that team uh, failed, and we had to close down that team about a year ago. And so again, God, what are you doing? Why have I been in Japan? And through various means, God showed me that He wanted me to go to Australia. I knew the missionary leader there, and it was just a really great opportunity to mentor young men, especially to help them be missionary minded, whether they stay in Australia or go off into Asia or other places. And so I would just really encourage you not to worry too much about what you're going to do for work when you become adults, when you leave high school or college. Uh, Go where you feel God is calling you at the moment, because God is going to provide doors and different opportunities for you, and that may not be what you do for the rest of your life, but it's going to lead to something else. God has a plan and a way of leading you to do what He ultimately wants for you to do. I'm 51 years old, and I'm kind of still figuring out, where is God going to have me go next? Is Australia it, or will there be more beyond that? I don't know. With COVID-19, I don't know if I'll ever actually get there. I hope I do, but I don't know. I just have to trust God that He knows what He's doing. Um, let's see. What advice would I give students regarding doing missions? Um, Whether you live overseas or live in America, we must all be missionaries. Every one of us is called to be a missionary in Jerusalem, in Judea, and to the ends of the world. In other words, where you live, where you could go, doesn't matter where you are a missionary, because you are a child of God. You are called to share the gospel with your neighbors, with your coworkers, with people who don't know Him. And so I would just encourage you to get equipped, know how to share the gospel in tactful, appropriate ways, and learn how to find those opportunities to share the gospel. I was trained many years ago in evangelism explosion, and it just really was useful in helping me learn how to see those windows that God opens up for me to be able to share a story with someone that I've met at a restaurant, perhaps. So they might say something that's like, "Oh, God taught me," or evangelism explosion. God taught me through EE how to use that topic to get into a spiritual conversation. And so I would encourage you to take some mission trips with your church, perhaps, travel, see what your missionaries are doing in other places. And God may not call you overseas. Maybe God just wants you to go there to see what missionaries do so you can pray for them more effectively and advocate for them and support them in those ways. But He may call you, and it's a big, exciting world out there. So be open to it and pray about it, and trust God in what He's got, where He's leading you. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.